almost 2/3 of the consumption has happened outside India, and it is not necessarily PIO and OCIs of the world. It is purely has gone mainstream. So that means a consumer has been consuming my content in a subtitle or in a dubbed form, most probably in a subtitle form. So people have, or consumers have started consuming content in a subtitle language, in a dubbed form, and that is a huge opportunity for somebody even in the smallest town of a country like us. If his or her story is engaging, it can travel globally.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Money Konnect, powered by Edelweiss Mutual Fund. This is the show where we put the spotlight on sectors. While we as investors, we do look at various companies and businesses or mutual fund schemes to plan our journey into the world of investing. But at the same time, to be an informed investor, you do need to understand the dynamics of what really goes on in India's businesses, in India's various sectors and the economy. Joining me today is Shibashish Sarkar, who is the Group CEO at Reliance Entertainment. We Indians love to watch media and entertainment, and at the same time, it's a very big business with lots of listed entities now. So to understand the sector better and what are the growth prospects for it, let us look towards Shibashish for some understanding.
Thank you. Thanks for a nice introduction.
It's wonderful talking to you after many, many years.
Many years, yeah, after a long time.
I mean, I think this is one sector which probably everyone struggles to understand the way it's moving, right? I mean, if you take even a 3-decade journey, I started from print, moved to TV, and now digital, where you sit and where you actually produce, the big ticket content, things would have probably changed dramatically. What are the kind of changes you've seen?
So I think I'll honestly pick up from the point what you said that many of us are not. It is always some kind of a myth. What we love to see on the screen and what goes behind it to make that available for the consumer. And almost in a similar scenario, so I don't know if you're familiar or not that my first part of my career was in hardcore FMCG. So I spent a long time in Godrej. Before that, I started in a public sector, then was in Shawales, then a long tenure in Godrej consumer product. And I shifted to media probably some kind of a heck of it, because Godrej was an extremely process-driven company. It's a more than 100 years old company. Everything is set in line. So you just have to follow the process and systems. Your career and life and work will follow. And in that early age, you are always intending to do something. That's something has to happen. And from a large organization like Godrej, I moved and I joined a company that point of time in UTV, Ronnie Screwvala. And it was that time a closely held company, not even listed. And that was my first so-called brush with media and entertainment, right? Coming from a hardcore manufacturing FMCG setup to everything intangible and how value gets created out of intangible. So when I look back and look at the tenure of last probably the next 2 decades of my career was in media entertainment. So what I do understand, and also as a professional background, I'm a chartered accountant and moved on to now leading the business. There is the science and commerce of this business. Unlike many other business, this business is also, especially some verticals of this business, if not all, some verticals of these businesses are extremely important is how you keep the balance between creativity and commerce. If my learning of last 2 decades, if I try to sum it up, I think the people who are successful, they have been able to manage this balance, because either a commercially or transaction oriented organization or a extremely creative organization but not so much on focus on commerce, either of the situation fails. And coming back to your question, that what we have seen in the last few decades and what we can see, I think India, of course, I mean, no need to mention about the India story. We are all familiar with that space. Large population, young population, median age, consumer purchasing capacity, all those parameters we are aware of. So I'm not touching upon those points. But if we look at from a sheer last 30, 40 years, what has happened in this industry, there has been a significant technology shift. There has been always innovation and new opportunities and medium of content consumption. And there has been shift in terms of how audience perceive. And we at the maker's end, we are always facing the challenge, as well as that is the business, is that how do you perceive audiences changing mindset and cater something which fulfills its requirement. So significantly last 30, 40 years, I mean, if you look at the 90s, we have seen the advent of the private television, right? I mean, the first 100 odd years was basically creative industry. If you look at it, is broadly a film industry, which is almost like 115, 120 years old. Then there was television, when you say the Doordarshan part of the government platforms. Music was very important all along in our business.
With the radio.
And significantly, when the advent of the private television, significant changes happened in the overall space. In between, in that space, almost similar time, probably the mid-80s to subsequent period also, very important was video business. The original days was VHS and then VCRs, and then you brought to the DVDs, and now that's also gone over a period of technology, advent of the technology. And then in the other mediums, we have seen the advent of the whole, in the exhibition industry, went through the changes in terms of the multiplexes. And it is not only the viewing experience, it is also the kind of content which started creating according to the consumer. Then with the advent of the multiplexes, you start catering to the urban audiences, their preferences and the needs. And of course, the last, probably not a decade, but last 7-8 years, we are seeing the advent of OTT and how the, not only, so while the technology has shifted in terms of the, by and large, on the distribution medium, but at the same point of time, it has progressed and worked towards the storytelling, how storytelling has shifted. And the storytelling may be television, it may be cinema, it may be content consumption can be from a mobile phone to 70 mm screen. So yeah, it's a fascinating space where we are in. Every fascinating journey also have its own challenges. So it's not that everything is hunky dory. But yeah, I mean, that's the way the sector is growing, and the sector is, I mean, if you look at the overall, it's from a overall size and in terms of the GDP and etc., it is not probably not one of the very significant in terms of the value, but in terms of the soft power, in terms of the providing employment, in terms of empowering people, it is creating a great situation within the country. And that's why probably, I mean, that's one of the culmination we saw in the last WAVE summit, where the Prime Minister came in with a very clear focus, how India can be the next media content hub for globally.
You see that happening? I mean, considering that, I know we're not discussing your company here, but you, many years ago, have already gone into global markets in a joint venture. You've seen how things work there.
Right.
Probably a lot of the back-end work in some of the global movies are already being done in India.
Right.
Something we don't really know, because as you said, we see the final movie, we don't know who did this graphic or who did that.
Correct.
Do you see India emerging as a...
if you think of that, what do we think ourselves as globalization, right? And it's like that elephant story, right? You can take one element and try to define an elephant in the situation. But in true, so one can say that, are our contents going global? That can be one way to look at it. Are global contents looking at Indian economy? Are global contents being made and produced by Indian community? what is the impact of the impression is our country or the community can create on the global media and entertainment, right? In different spectrum, you can slice and dice on the situation. Now, a lot of the elements, actually, as you mentioned, like even if I look at one segment at a time, like suppose if we talk of film or a cinema segment at one place, we are the world's largest film production country, right? Number of films, we are the largest film producer. In terms of value, we are nowhere close. It has challenges. Yes, it has challenges. We can talk later in terms of the screen density or what all situations need to done. In terms of quality of storytelling, I think we have the best quality of the writers in a country like us. But there always used to be a challenge that when you are making content in a local language, how will it travel? Because even if it travels in a big screen, in like a cinema, it's 1 week, the cinema will be out. 1 week, 10 days. Like to give you some number, a large Indian film, I mean, even the tentpole films, what we make in our company or many other large tentpole film, it goes to more than 100 plus countries theatrically. Not many people probably are aware of that. The language barrier for some mediums is to be a significant challenge. That situation, we are seeing that over a period of last 7-8 years with the advent of the platform as an OTT and with the advent of the consumers consuming content globally across languages, across region, that barrier, I won't say completely gone, but has significantly gone.
Reduced.
What it helps for a country like us is not only the opportunity of exhibiting our content globally, but it is the opportunity for our storytellers that my story also will be sampled in one Latin American country, which was never there earlier. Is that almost 2/3 of the consumption has happened outside India, and it is not necessarily PIO and OCIs of the world. It is purely has gone mainstream. So that means a consumer has been consuming my content in a subtitle or in a dubbed form, most probably in a subtitle form. So people have, or consumers have started consuming content in a subtitle language, in a dubbed form, and that is a huge opportunity for somebody even in the smallest town of a country like us. If his or her story is engaging, it can travel globally. That is one way of objective which I can see, that how Indian stories can grow globally, if not through films, but through content which is traveling through OTT. Number one. Number two, the easy, I mean, I won't say the easy, but the thing which always like a low-hanging comment, we always communicate about 1.4 billion population. So every global companies find India as an opportunity. And I think virtually every single platform have opened up there, because you open your, you look at India as an opportunity, then your next objective, your content has to be local content, and then you start producing content locally and etc. I mean, probably among the large players, barring Apple, everyone already has started consuming. And not only barring Apple, there are a few other players, large players who are yet to enter India market. Now, it is giving an opportunity for the scenario is that while it is not only the storytelling, you are learning the art and formula of the global success stories with those global companies, right? At the same time, the global companies are also learning the ethos of the Indian market. So if you look even from the programming point of view, a platform which probably when OTT came into the India, what were the broad thought processes? The thought processes were it has to be a different kind of content. It is not the television content. Television is there for, okay, housewife, a certain segment. This has to be more male, more edgy, more niche, more macho. There are some elements of words which is to be coined.
More shows rather than movies.
Right. So learnings. So second important point that the India's opportunity to be a global is basically in the phase that the learnings what we are getting from the global platforms, which helps not only the producers, creators, directors, makers, the whole ecosystem, that how do I prepare myself. Third situation, of course, is in terms of that how India can be, and this can come with a lot of ifs and buts, but how India can be a destination for global production hub. Now, I'll take probably 20, 30 years back. In case of Hollywood, till even the 90s or even in the 2000s, so everything originally all started with everyone having their studio in LA, because LA for them is what we call universal Bollywood. So all the talent and the creators and makers and the studios are there. And their production hub by and large used to be LA centric. But over a phase of time, when the production is not only a requirement of bringing the best creative talent in a pool and collectively creating the best content, it is also the skill set, it is also the commerce, it is also the business about it, and the efficiency about it. Very soon, in the next 10 years, we saw a significant amount of Hollywood production shifted to Canada. Why Canada? Because Canada government started giving absolutely aggressive incentives, grants, and subsidies that you come to my country, and these are the incentives, grants, and schemes which will be made available. And you create content for North America or for US market, but in Canada. So from LA, we saw the next decade, we saw it shifted to Canada. The last 10 years, we are seeing that it has shifted to Spain, right? And the Spanish government, and very aggressively in that thought process, we have, from Producers Guild point of view, we have also the opportunity to meet the Honorable President. It's quite an incident I should mention you, that the Honorable President when he came to Bombay, he made all the effort to come to Andheri and meet the Producers Guild. It is not that he called us to his country or to his places and etc. He met all the Indian producers community. It happened in YRF studio, and the Producer Guild, we sat and discussed that what are the opportunities, and for them to take Indian content in Spain. That was his objective. Generally, most of the countries, these discussions happened with the film commissions or tourism ministers and etc. of the world. Here, the head of the country is taking that initiative. So he took that initiative, and now a substantial portion of the Hollywood production has shifted to Spain and to South Korea. Now, question is that if I want to vision that, okay, next 10 years time, why can't India be that destination, or what do we require to be that destination? It is not only an aspiration, it has to be supported by. And we, even from a Producers Guild point of view, we have been working significantly, and we have been talking with the governments on a lot of areas. So, of course, infrastructure development, availability of institutional capital, availability of incentive grants on credit, so you are at least at par. When I say infrastructure development, it is not necessarily only, of course, it's very important that you have to have the world-class studios and the world-class facilities. But at the same point of time, the whole ecosystem, in terms of the hotel, travel, lodging, boarding, permission, it's not one window as a one window. It has to live up to the true spirit. Possible, because India is from that perspective, from a perspective of a shooting and etc. It's a quite a large country. It has every kind of locations and locales, from your west of the mountains to coastlines to beautiful forest area. Everything you can shoot in as varied as a country like India. Of course, as a requirement of a storytelling, you can't force feed a location. Your storytelling has to require that. But it is very much possible the other most important part which I missed out and which I should mention is this business is not only about the infrastructure and the capex, it is very important is the people. Because it is people who make the business.
Correct.
So for next one decade, you have to create the best students who are coming out of your universities or film schools or media schools, that who will be capable of taking up any global or A-class quality of production in all elements, from creative to productions to every kind of element. That's also another area we have been speaking with the government, that in India, that is one area which is lacking, is the best of the media schools. Now, the two great institutions we have in the country, one is FTI and other is the SRFTI. Government has been taking a lot of initiatives through skill development councils. I'm a part of that MESC, and so I see that there's a lot of initiatives happening. But the proposals what we put to our when INB Minister and when I think the waves Maharashtra Honorable Maharashtra CM Devendra Fadnavis was also very keen to understand. We said you get the best of the film schools or best of the media schools, not necessarily film, best of the media schools to open up their counterparts or branches here. Why is NYU, why is UCLA, why is London Film School, they can't have a setup here? And the students who aspire today, they probably don't have to pay millions to go outside and study, but it can get the best of the quality education. That we have to focus, because if we want to create a global hub, nobody will like to bring their entire technician, fly down to another country and shoot. I will want the local industry and the local setup. At least it has to give me a certain quality of output. I'll come with my actors, directors, and the key technicians, go to a place, and I'll be able to shoot and come out of it. So, whether in terms of infrastructure, whether in terms of the overall ecosystem, in terms of the it coined with the tourism as well as the facility of the infrastructure, so that you can create overall space that one can come and go. Third important part is in terms of the what are the incentives and grants you are providing. Currently, there is a very interesting from a government of India's point of view through NFDC. They have worked out a policy which is quite exciting. But while the percentages are as comparable to the global percentages, but it has a certain upper cap. So you can get up to a $4 million, etc. for global films, not for the Indian ones. But that has to be matched. So if you want to compete that, okay, I want my shooting from the global hubs here, you have to match with those countries who are providing that. And fourth element is that probably it will take next 5-10 years or maybe more to create the best skilled people in your country that who can cater that quality. Having said so, there is already a lot of activities happen. Like if you check at the movies which win Oscar in the VFX, so the post production of the CGI and those facilities, you will find that a significant amount, or if you just go through just as an academic interest, you go through the credits of the people, the long list which comes at the end of the film, you will find a lot of Indian names.
Yes.
So significant amount of work today happens in India, whether it is through Double Negative, Prime Focus. Many of these companies, they take a significant amount of best of the world-class work and actually happen in India. And we have been just talking that how, best of the films which win Oscars or best of the films which win the awards even in the post-production stuff, whether the VFX or CG and etc. You will find a lot of work is being done by the Indian community in the Indian studios, and it's an outsourced work for them. So yes, there is definitely an opportunity. The good part, what we saw in the Wave Summit is actually that vision or the statement came from the head of the country, from the Prime Minister or from the Honorable Prime Minister. So we have to see that how it pans out over a phase of time. But yes, if a focus can be given, and if with the government and the private support, next 5 to 10 years, India can be the global hub for global content creation in India. It's not necessarily only global storytelling and etc. We can be the production hub for the global content consumption.
Media entertainment, while it is one sector, but it has so many dimensions to it. And I want to divide this into two broad pillars. One is, the creation part, which you talked about, and one is the distribution part.
Right.
Let's talk distribution. Do you believe that multiplexes are finished?
Actually, we must be in that space. We must be probably scratching the surface in terms of the overall opportunity. But it's the growth what has happened in the country has happened in a very imbalanced manner. Now, I'll give you a data. Sometime in not even 80s, early 2000, I'm saying 2000, 2001, that period of time, India used to have around 12,000 cinema screens. China used to have around 8,000 cinema screens. Next 25 years down the line, we are hovering around 9,500, 10,000 cinema screens. China is around 100,000 cinema screens. US is around 40,000 cinema screens. Now in India, while a significant initial growth happened through the multiplexes, it happened through the large companies setting up their operations as well as converting a lot of single screens into multiplexes. Both the transition has happened. What has happened is that whole focus has happened on the tier 1 of the metro cities to a significant amount. So if you take cities like, say, Bombay, Delhi, or any of the metros, you will find there are pockets where there are 10, 15, 20 odd screens. Each of the larger locations also have 5, 7, 10 screens, and then there are 3 or 4 cinema locations in a place. Whereas, if you drive 50 kilometers out of Bombay, in 100 kilometers, you will not find one single screen. Now, do people have purchasing power? Yes. Is there a requirement of entertainment? The answer is yes. But there is no availability of the single screen, or there is no availability of a destination with a certain amount of hygiene and quality that you intend to bring your family there, right? So that audience has been forced to push towards the television, mobile phone, or any other medium through which he or she is seeing the content. So if you look at it, so now this
Also, I read an article just yesterday,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting because now, and that especially since you're from the producer's side, the time that it takes for a new movie to hit the OTT screens has shrunk. So at least earlier you thought, oh, I want to watch this movie, I will go. And of course, in our generation, it was an experience.
right.
The whole family went to watch a movie. I don't think that happens anymore.
So I mean that's a slightly different element, which is also very important for the cinema screen overall space. And I'll touch that point once I close this thought process. Is that so? First point is that how do we create enough inexpensive cinema viewing experience in tier 2, tier 3 cities as a goal. So we as a body, again, I mean, from a producers guild perspective and etc., we took up with the government, and this is we have taken up with Gujarat government, Maharashtra government, Delhi government, many of the governments we have taken up post waves. That okay, fine. In India, one very important parameter where cinema industry is not able to grow is because exorbitant estate cost. The moment you try to take that, either whether you take it a rental or own or etc., and it comes as a landed, the ticket price goes through the roof. The cinema exhibition sector is also not able to break even unless they increase the prices, and at that price, audience is not going to come. Right? So this is a
vicious cycle,
problem, whatever we are going through. So how do we crack a situation that we make something available, but we make something available at a cheaper price point? And the focus was tier 2, tier 3. So our proposals, which we have sent to multiple of this government, and we spoke with a lot of those joint secretaries, CMs, and etc., is that each of these states, let's take an example of Maharashtra as a state. We say that you have a lot of land bank. When I say land banks, I'm not necessarily saying land, but you have a lot of facility or areas which are under your control. Take all the ST bus depot. Take all railway stations. Every town or every panchayat has a panchayat office. Every small town has a town hall, right? Or an auditorium. Why can't you allow the space to be provided? And a private entrepreneur will come to invest 50 lakh, 1 crore. The moment you talk of 10 crore, 15 crore, then the payback period or the break-even point goes to haywire. But if it can happen with a government support, that you provide, you are already, if there is an ST bus depot, every day there is a certain footfall of people. You already have a vacant space. Don't make a 200 screen cinema, you make a 50 to 100 seater cinema, right? And at a cost-effective manner, you can create a cinema screen at a 50 lakh to 1 crore situation. People are making even cheaper, but I'm saying moderately where all the systems and etc. will be available. You can make a 50 lakh to 1 crore property. A local entrepreneur or even a state level or a national level entrepreneur will come to create 50, 100, whatever number of cities. You come with your place and create that hub so that at least in the next few years, once it is created, you create the habit. Cinema going is a habit. If I go to see with a particular cinema with a family, I see the trailer of the next film. If it excites me, I'll go again. That's why you always say that any film working in the industry is good because it creates the footfall and brings in a habit. Along with, while that is one situation, one area which we have been harping with and it won't happen without the support of the government sector, because unfortunately or fortunately, if I look at this country, last 120 years of industry, it has grown only with private passion, private money, and private capital. Absolutely. Unlike many other segments, and unlike even this sector, what is happening globally. I mean, that's a separate point that we can talk about later, availability of institutional capital and etc. Now, coming to the second point is that what is the windowing one should have? So that from an audience's point of view, I should have an urge to go to the cinema hall, that it will not be available. So that's the second point what you've been referring to. And there are a lot of conversation we see from every side. I think first thing first, which as a community we have to accept, we have to create better films. Because as much infrastructure is available, it is like you have a 5-star restaurant, but the food is not great, right? You may like the ambience, you may like the quality and everything. The food is not that good enough. It is not that you will come next time, and etc. So that is the first responsibility as a sector or as an industry we have to take on ourselves, that we have to make good, entertaining, enjoyable films which can cater to the audience. And it can be, as a large country like India, there can be every kind of stories can coexist, from extreme niche to action to spectacle to slice of life to horror to comedy. Everything can coexist because we are such a large country. There's business for everyone. But at least in that segment, make a good story, right? That's point one. Coming to the question of habit of cinema going, that why I should go to the cinema and why I should not see it in a television, right? If you remember that we as an industry, again, exhibition part or the cinema producer part, we face these challenges many a time. In the early 90s or 80s, the fear used to have the VHS. वो वीडियो आ गया, अभी वीडियो आया तो लोग क्यों देखेगा, लोग घर पे देख लेगा, तो सिनेमा बिजनेस बंद हो गया. हुआ नहीं, the business continued. Second threat came private television. अरे अभी जी टीवी में फिल्म दिखेगा तो आप क्यों जाओगे हॉल में देखने के लिए, तो फ्री में दिख रहा है, महीना में एक बार आपने केबल टीवी का चार्ज दे दिया तो आपको जाने का जरूरी नहीं है. उधर भी एक विंडोइंग होता था, that आप एक बार फिल्म आने का बाद,
larger window.
Yeah. So originally that window used to be, when I started my career, the window used to be as large as 1 year, 1.5 years.
Yeah.
Then that windowing was subsequently brought down, and probably before the advent of the OTTs, that window used to be closer to like a 90 days kind of a window, 60 to 90 days kind of window. When the OTTs put their footprint here, I think by and large, the Hindi industry maintains a very standard windowing, which is 8 weeks. So 8 weeks, it first run in the cinema hall. After 8 weeks, if there is a OTT deal, because not all films get OTT deal, then it comes on the OTT. Then after another 45 to 50 days, it comes on the satellite TV. During the lockdown period, of course, when everything was shut down, that time span got crunched, and films used to come even whether direct to OTT or 1 month or 19 days, so different formulas worked. But after the whole lockdown issue was over, Hindi industry went back to the 8 weeks windowing. The regional industry, especially in the south or I think barring Punjab, most of the regional industry, they still follow a 30 days kind of windowing. Now, there is a school of thought that the windowing should be good enough so that audience feels the urge that I have to go and see in the cinema hall. There is another school of thought that even after a shorter window or a larger window, if the film works, it goes on a ballistic number. And it doesn't care whether it is available on the OTT. I don't think that there is a straight yes or straight no to that answer. I feel from at the community point of view or the producer's point of view, I think 8 weeks is a decent window. If someone has to urge, because even if I look at my business, in the between first 3 weeks of films, if I take an example, if I take a data of say 200 films and do an analysis, 95 to 98% of the films collect their entire, almost 95-97% of their box office in the first 3 weeks. So it gets virtually exhausted, other than few real winner which ran for 4th week, 5th week, 6th week of the world. But majority of the business get exhausted in the 3 to 4 weeks time. There, even if it's an 8 week window is there, I think, I don't think, and even as a community, we don't think that it harms that much. But audience have to be very clear that it is available after 8 weeks. What we have, and the problem what we have to solve is that some films at 4 weeks, some film at 8 weeks. South film, if it is dubbed in Hindi, it will be maybe 8 weeks. If it is the main language, it will be 4 weeks. So that uniformity, as an industry, we have to come to some uniformity across the country. If the communication is very clear to audience, then audience is clear about it. Audience don't mind if the communication is clear. So that part, I think we have to still address.
But do you believe that a large part of the consumption of the content going forward, it already is true, will be digital? When I say digital, it could be on your mobile phone, like the Gen Z today, I think, and I'm talking tier 2, tier 3 also.
Yeah.
They're very happy, they have a smartphone, you go up the lift, the child is watching on the phone, the screen. So, and I'm not saying it's the best experience, but, or OTT as you talked about. But I think OTT is struggling to crack the subscription fee.
Correct.
Which is the equivalent of buying a ticket.
Correct.
So, but do you feel that increasingly it will be consumed digitally rather than movie hall or satellite X, Y, Z?
So it is not that going to happen. It's already happening for last 5-6 years, and there already has been a shift in the consumer habit, and it is better we accept that and make plans, adapt to the situation, right? Now, there has been a significant level of consumption already happening. When you say digital, and I agree with you that the digital can be as small as your mobile phone to any screen or multiple screen in the situation. That part of the business, if the question is that whether that's significant or that growth of the business, is it going to cannibalize the exhibition part or the satellite television part and etc. of the situation, that yes, it's going to happen. It's already happening. It's going to happen. But at the same time, what we believe that in a country as large as ours, there always will be a coexistence. So when I take a cinema hall viewing is not necessarily only to go to see the film. It is a collective viewing experience. So there are genres, like say if I see comedy, if I talk of spectacle, while spectacle is not a genre, I'm saying spectacle as an experience. If I talk of say something like action, it is always a large screen collective viewing. So if one person laughs in a cinema hall, it percolates into another 20 people laughing into the cinema hall. The same scene which I'm seeing in my drawing room with me or my family has a different experience which I'm seeing with another 200 people. So the collective viewing experience in a larger way, that's not going anywhere. If you notice in the last year or the current year, one portion of media entertainment which has shot up is your live event. People are going into every live event, every concert in hordes. So it is an experience. So cinema going experience will continue in its own place. Digital definitely is a growth, and as content makers, we find this is an opportunity because another medium has been growing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
For us, it's not a threat. For exhibition business, I think the focus has to be there are two challenges. One challenge, how they make it a business-wise viable in the major expensive metro cities, and vis-a-vis how it can grow into the smaller cities. But if we can find a model to cater to the smaller cities, that segment is also going to boom on its own way. Digital, as you also must be familiar, like this year, for the first time, the total digital revenue has crossed the television in the overall like 2.5 lakh crore market size of India. This year, it's 80,000 crore roughly is coming from digital. Television, I think, when I mean this year, I mean 24 numbers reported in this FICCI report is around 68,000 crore. So linear TV is under pressure, no doubt on that. That we can see most of the linear TV platforms has also have their own digital platforms, and the content is going in both the places. At the same time, digital has their own pressure points. I mean, with the fanfare when it started 7-8 years back, they have been struggling. The SVOD as a business model has been struggling. So majority of them are now going into AVOD route or SVOD, a hybrid route of SVOD and AVOD. We have already started seeing Amazon has started doing. Disney, it is already there. Z is already there. Sony Live is already there. I think probably Netflix is not in India, but globally they are doing. So in India, if you have to crack the model of digital earning P&L ecosystem, there has to be an advertisement. Without an advertisement revenue, I don't think that model exists. But the challenges are, if it is an ad-driven model, the content cost has to come down, the volume has to be big. So that's why a lot of content programming is shifting, like in our colloquial, I mean, in our old language, you're saying like a television content. So is digital becoming the new TV? We don't know. I mean, we are seeing the advent of microdramas. We are seeing newer kind of contents which are being talked about. But it's a fascinating time because the growth, I mean, even in the digital ecosystem, if you look at it, the two biggest players which is taking the lion's share of the money is YouTube and Facebook, right? Then comes your situation of Amazon, Disney, Netflix, of everyone of the world. So yes, there are challenges at every segment of their own business ecosystem. But as content creator community, I think for us, it is a challenge of what kind of content I create and how do I engage an eyeball. I mean, that's the challenge. And
how do I do it across different formats?
How do I do it across different
Somebody
formats?
wants to watch a 2-hour
right
movie or a 3-hour movie. Somebody wants to watch 30 seconds.
Microdrama, right? So today the whole advent, I mean, I mean, we are also have been just learning and studying about it. I think this year, the business of microdrama in China is going to cross the film exhibition business. First time. $6 billion. They're estimating that this year they will do microdrama.
Microdrama is
is basically, so each episode will be 1 to 2 minutes. 1 to 2 minutes. And there will be 30 episodes, 25 to 30 episodes. And it will be a like vertical content, right? So you are almost seeing like a reel. So every 2 minutes there is an episode and you are consuming content. And priced at probably 1/10 of an episode cost. So it's a volume game, but in that volume game you have to do the storytelling because in every 2 minutes you have to have a cliffhanger that I will see the next 2 minutes, right? So that has taken over China. That's showing strong situations in US market also, and Indian every platforms are talking about it, and we'll be seeing those coming up. Already things have started coming up. So yes, you make a story from between a 2 minute to 150 minutes. I mean, how do you engage audience? I mean, that's a creative storytelling challenge. You can constantly go through it.
You know, since you're a finance person, let me ask you this question. That volatility, as you have explained, can come in any industry, can come in any, in life. And at the same time, I think when we talk finance, I mean, the point is many people stay away from managing finance of their own life because they fear volatility.
Right.
Since you are a finance person and now you're running a business, you're a business leader, what would be your advice to young people?
See, I think the first thing to accept is volatility will be there. If we start not accepting or if we start behaving ourselves that we'll be able to create an environment which will not be volatile, that's a myth. Now, whether you are in your finance space, whether you are a mental space, whether in your society, there will be challenges, and financial challenges, which we use as a word of volatility in many form and manner, is a part of the ecosystem where you have gone. The people who will be successful, are the people who accepts that if there are situations, if they are volatile, how do I behave myself and how do I conduct myself? And people, there can be different school of thought how they can conduct, and there is nothing straight yes and straight no about it. There may be school of people who think that I will conduct my business, that I will not get into a volatile space, right? So I'll only conduct in a certain segments of business. But it comes with a situation that if you are not in a volatile scenario or volatile business, you are not stepping in, probably you are not, the whole objective of risk and reward and how do you create your growth, you probably are not tapping in there. You can remain a steady flow or certain aspects of business, but without not much of a growth aspiration. At the same time, the most successful leaders who have, or from any segment, who have gone and have grown themselves, have probably adapted themselves and adopted a journey where they have entered a volatile ecosystem but found that how they remain afloat in that space. So first is accept the fact that there will be volatility, there will be good days and there will be bad days. And in both the scenario, how you are going to conduct yourself. Whether the euphoria during the good days, that also should be measured, and whether what are the decisions you are taking when the days are not good for you, whether in financial terms or any ecosystem terms, and how do you conduct yourself. If these two segments are factored in, I think majority of us will be able to handle that time.
This is true for finance and life.
It's true for finance and life.
I could talk with you for hours, Shivadeep, but we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for coming by, sharing your perspective.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is a very exciting sector which is changing by the day. Right. And I think we will need to have lots more conversations around this. But truly appreciate you taking your time.
Thanks for your time. And it is always, as you mentioned, that these are areas of our passion, and we can continue talking. But we are all working in the same ecosystem and trying to make a better place for a better business and a better opportunity for audience. That's the objective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mutual funds can help you beat volatility when it comes to your own money, because you have the best of experts who are willing to manage your money for you at a very, very small cost. At the same time, volatility can be controlled through certain tools like SIP, for example. So again, asset allocation, SIP, all of these that are offered by mutual funds can help you manage your money's volatility. But at the end of the day, nothing like having a good advisor, having a good fund house, and at the end of the day, having the knowledge to be able to invest wisely. Thank you for watching this episode. Look forward to many more coming up in the next few weeks.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.